Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for our Women Who Mean Business program today. We are excited to see a nice full room. Today, as you just heard, today's program is being recorded. I'd like to offer a special thank you to the Bank of Utica for sponsoring today's program, as well as our other Women Who Mean Business events. And for those of you who are joining virtually, feel free to open your mic if you've got a question throughout, or leave it in the chat, and we'll be monitoring that throughout Shawnice's program. So without further ado, it is my pleasure to introduce today's speaker, Shawnice Meador. Shawnice is the Senior Director of Global Talent Management at Wolfspeed, and she and her team identify, connect, and develop talent to grow their careers in the exciting semiconductor industry. So we're so glad to have you here, and we'll let you take over the program today.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. Good afternoon, everybody. I am really happy to be back here again. And I'm so glad that it wasn't this weekend because that could have deterred me from jumping on the plane. So I'm coming to you from North Carolina. Our global headquarters is in Durham, North Carolina, but we are super happy to have our newest plant right up on the hill by y'all. So I'm from Wolfspeed, and I've got my colleague Chuck here as well. And again, we're really happy to be invited to come and share in this Women Who Mean Business series that you all do. I want to encourage you to keep eating. Don't be scared to stand up and go get more chow if you're still hungry. And it's also going to be interactive a bit. So I handed out some playing cards to people. I hope that you will play along with me a little bit. First, maybe I'm going to ask, someone who has a card, who's on your card? Who's on it? Okay, Jane Goodall. Okay, who else has a card? Who's on yours? Marie Curie, and one more. Okay, so what do these people have in common? Yeah, all women in STEM. So if anyone's ever looking for a cool birthday gift or something to give to people, you can order these off of Amazon. And I need my cards back when you're done. So when you're done, just leave them on the table and you'll understand what they're for here in a minute. I'm really excited today to talk to you about personal branding. Okay, so some of you might walk into this room right now and you're like, oh yeah, I'm an expert on this. I hope I learn a couple refined things. And others of you are like, what the heck is personal branding? But last time I checked, it's Taco Tuesday and there's going to be tacos involved. So I'm going to come and hear this thing. So no matter where you're at, I hope you get something out of this talk we're going to give today. So these are an idea of what we're going to spend the next hour doing. We're going to start off by getting everybody familiar with what is personal branding. Then, once you have a little bit of a better understanding of it, we're going to talk about how can you shape your own personal brand, because whether you know it or not, we all have one already. Then we're going to talk about how you can communicate it, and there's lots of different ways, but we're going to focus on 3 in particular. And then last but not least, I want you all to walk out of here with at least one, if not a couple things that you're going to take some action on now. So let's get started with a couple reminders to everybody. Again, how many of you have had a marketing class before? Anybody in the room? A couple. Okay, so you may be a little bit more familiar with this stuff than some other folks, and please pipe in with that. How many of you have never heard of personal branding before until you saw the title of this? Okay, thank you for saying that. So again, just notice that everyone's going to be at different levels of what this means. So I want to encourage everyone, use this as a taste. I am the type of person that's going to cover quite a bit of information in this next hour. My theory of learning is the more different ways I can give you to think about things, the more that a couple little light bulbs might go on, but different light bulbs go on for different people. So I highly encourage you after today, if there was something that sparked your interest, deeper dive into it after today. All right. So who has I have 2 people out there that have an ace card. Who has our aces? We have one ace there, and who's our other ace? Okay, perfect. So let's start with you. The question is, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being very confident, how confident are you currently in your personal brand and why?
Say probably like a 6 or a 7.
Okay, pretty good.
Less covered in. Not like a market.
Nice. Okay.
But I'm gonna.
Awesome. All right.
With our style.
Nice. Great. Well, good. And if anyone has a peanut allergy, please give them to somebody else. But I like to give you all payday because I'm sure everyone's after a job or you already have one. So where's our number? There we go. Sure. 8. Nice. Okay. Well, please pipe in along the way then. Oh, you can keep it for now. Okay. So good. So we've got a good mix of people and familiarity, even just in those first 2 folks. So let's talk again about what is a brand. So again, I've already mentioned marketing. We're going to use that as a little bit of a context. So whether or not you know it, you already know something about branding. So who has my number 2? Should have 2 people with a number 2 out there. 1, where's my other 2? Okay, great. So what 3 words come to mind when you see that? And maybe you can say what that is too. What do you think? I am unaware of a drink that Tesla makes.
Yeah, it's in the shape of like. Yeah, the lightning a lot of it.
Really? Wow. Okay, I learned something new today. Awesome. How about you? What comes to mind?
I would use the first 2.
Okay.
Tesla, and then electric.
And maybe do a couple more. What else? Okay. So Tesla, car, electric, expensive. Okay. So now who has my number 3? Okay, we've got Michael and you. Okay, so we're going to start with you. Your opinion matters here. There's no right or wrong answer. Do you think Tesla is a top brand of choice? Why or why not? Okay. Okay, great. So for those of you that couldn't hear him, he said he thinks yes, it's their marketing is quite good, and it's got a good reputation as a good company in the market. Okay, great. Michael, how about you? What do you think? Top brand choice? Why or why not?
I think in that market, in that industry of electric vehicles, yes. I think they are considered probably upper level in terms of reliability, performance, and I think that based on the cost people might associate that with, I'm getting what I pay for quality.
Great. So for those of you who couldn't hear him, he said it's got known for having a pretty good quality, and hopefully the price of it make sure that it's a good quality. So both of you think, yeah, probably top brand of choice. Okay, great. So that's from a brand perspective or a product perspective. That's how usually people think about branding. Okay, so now who has my number 4? We're going to switch gears and think about this from a people perspective. Okay, great. So hopefully you know who this is. No, how about you? Do you know who this is? Yes. So this is Jessica Alba. Okay. So from what you know about Jessica Alba, what are some words that come to your mind? And if you don't know her, I still want to hear what words come to your mind. So what do you think? Fantastic Four movie. Okay. That's it. Okay. What words come to your mind even though you don't know who she is? Okay. Okay, great. How about other people? And I'm realizing I totally have been remiss on handing out my prizes for those of you who have answered. I apologize. Other people who know who this is, what are some things that come to mind? Yeah.
I think we
Confidence. Okay. What else? Spike. I haven't seen that movie, but who else? I missed somebody else here. Yes. Power pose. Okay. Power pose. Did I miss anybody else? I did. I missed you. Anything else you know about her? Yeah. There you go. So she is the, I don't know if she's still the CEO or if she handed off that post, but if you've ever heard of the Honest Company, they're products that are very earth conscious. They started off, I think, just with a kids line, and now it has skin and hair care and all sorts of things. It's quite a successful multinational business, but she did start as an actress. So I didn't realize so many people wouldn't know who she was. Interesting. Okay, so who has my number 5? Okay, we've got one here and one there. Okay, so you've heard a little bit about her. If you could hire her at your company, what would you hire her to do?
I would hire her, so because of her confidence that she has, I would hire her for like marketing.
Okay, marketing. Okay, great. How about you? What would you hire her to do?
an actor who's probably very sociable and good with people.
Okay.
So I think HR would be a pretty good fit.
Okay, great. So we've got HR, marketing, possibly public relations, those sorts of roles. Okay, great. So now let me get a show of hands. How many people own a Tesla? How many people have driven a Tesla? Oh, okay. All right. One out of the room. How many people have met Jessica Alba? So what I want us to think about is only one person in the room has sat behind the wheel of a Tesla, but probably all of us in the room had a couple things come to mind when you saw the logo or when you heard people starting to talk about it. You had thoughts around it, even to the point of, do you think this is a top brand and why? And now Jessica, well, I guess that didn't work out so well because y'all didn't know who she was. But we still, even just out of a couple sentences or hearing context about her, we could equate it to, oh, okay, she might be good at X or Y or Z at a company. But think about it. None of us, or almost none of us, own or drive a Tesla or have met Jessica Alba, but we all had things that come to mind. That, in essence, is personal brand or a brand of a company. It's not always about those tangible things that you've personally had experience with. Sometimes it's what you think it would be like, or through somebody else, what you've heard about their reputation, the good, the bad, the ugly. Okay, I'm surprised even on the Tesla stuff, I didn't hear anybody talk about Elon Musk. So they might say, oh, the car itself or the brand, okay, but then, oh, wow, one of the leaders of the company's in the news for some interesting reasons sometimes, okay? So that's something I want everybody to think about as you think about personal brand. We all have one right now. It's whether or not you want to be passive about it and kind of let it happen to you, or if you want to be a little bit more active and try to be influencing what people are thinking or witnessing or experiencing with you. And in this context, we're talking about from a professional or work-related or school-related idea. So one of the quotes from a former CEO, he is now since passed, but back in the day, way back in the day, actually a little bit of a New York thing here. I started my career in Schenectady, New York at General Electric in the power systems division in their rotational program. And at the time, Jack Welch was the CEO. Pretty intense person, but he kind of made a name for himself in the world of how to run a company. And one of his phrases was, control your own destiny or someone else will. So again, a little blunt, little harsh, but it kind of talks a little bit. All right. Okay, so now hopefully you have a smidge more of an understanding of what personal branding is. Now let's talk about how do you shape your personal brand. So I'm going to give you some different questions to think about or different frameworks to think about as you're thinking about who you are and how you want to be in the working world. So when a person meets you, gets exposure to you, hears about you, etc., these are the things that usually people are thinking. If they understand who you are, what you're great at, what your experience is, and why you would be valuable to their company or to the research project or to whatever the nonprofit that you're looking to become a volunteer, whatever it may be. So in essence, people are forming answers to these questions anyways. Can you help shape how they answer those questions based on your personal brand? Okay, so let me give you another way to think about this. Here's some questions you could ask yourself. The first thing is, what things make you distinctive from other people? So from a job context, think about it this way. I could have the exact same job as Chuck. Okay, Chuck is absolutely amazing at his job. I am absolutely not amazing at my job. If all that people know about me is the fact that I am responsible for X, Y, and Z, there's no difference between me and Chuck. We both have the same responsibilities. The things that start differentiating us are those accomplishments or those things we've achieved or those in school grades that we've gotten or extracurricular things that we go after, or even those softer things like when there's a conflict at work, people know that I can come in and help resolve that. So those are what I would think of as differentiators. So even in your degree programs right now, you're studying electrical engineering, let's say. But the things that differentiate you is think about what have you learned or accomplished or researched or done something about that make you unique and distinctive. Another question you can ask is, what do people seek you out for? So again, it could be there's a big thing with a huge team and you are known for being the masterful project planner and executor. They know that if you're on the team, you're the person that's going to make it happen. So it doesn't always have to be the technical stuff. It doesn't have to be, oh, I know this programming language, or again, I got a 3.8 on this exam. It can be lots of different things that you're that go-to person for, okay? Another question is, if you were to talk to, sometimes ourselves, we don't always have the best thoughts about how we do something. We might be a little critical of ourselves. But what if you were to talk to your manager or one of your professors or a colleague that you really trust and respect? How would they describe your work style, your leadership style? What are those things that they think that you are super awesome at that we might not always recognize about ourselves, okay? And then one of my favorite ones is, what value do you offer a company? And when I say value, I truly mean money. Think about what the companies are doing. They're giving you a paycheck for a certain amount of money. They are literally paying you X dollars to do something. So the return on their investment literally is, think about what are those things that you brought to that role or hope to bring to that role if you are job seeking right now that make you worth their investment. Hopefully that's a financial investment, but then there's all of the soft stuff too, right? How have you added to their culture? How have you brought more leadership to their table? How have you brought maybe a real edge for diversity, equity, and inclusion, and how inclusive you are with your colleagues? All of those sorts of things are your return or your value to a company or to a nonprofit or to a team at school, okay? And if you're more of a data person and you like to look at stuff and you don't like to ask people questions, here's just some things you can also think about doing. If you've gotten reports back or you've had a one-on-one with a professor, you've had a performance review with a manager or a supervisor, what kind of feedback have people given? And we want to think about the not so great that we can improve upon. And we absolutely want to spend some time thinking about the things that we're already awesome at. This is the part that I'm so used to, especially women out there. When we get some sort of feedback and there's something that's kind of good in there, we go, yeah, whatever. They're lying. It's not real. Let me go to the stuff where someone's critical of something, and I'm going to fully focus on that and remind myself that I'm not good. Let's try to bake that a little bit. The stuff that really helps us improve is to focus very heavily on the things that we're already naturally really amazing at, or the things we've worked pretty hard to refine and get better at. And a smidge of your time should be spent focusing on those things that are not maybe your most amazing thing. I always think about Mariah Carey. You like Mariah Carey, you don't. The bottom line is her music range is ridiculously high, right? She's that person that can hit those notes crazy high. I should never have the goal of becoming a singer to the caliber of Mariah Carey. But guess what? That doesn't matter for my job, so I got to get over myself. So the things to focus on when you're thinking about improving are what are those things that are either a detriment to you in what you're planning to do for a successful role, or things that you truly have a passion about getting better at, but not necessarily beating yourself up over all of the things that you might not be fabulous at, because a lot of them don't matter, okay? And here's one more thing that if you're still like, I still have no idea what she's talking about, I don't even know who is somebody that has a good brand, what does this all mean? I love to use LinkedIn as a little bit of a learning tool, a huge database, and maybe a little bit of a snooping tool. How many of y'all have LinkedIn profiles already? Yay! Okay, because we're going to be talking about it a little bit more here today. Think about some people who are that you already respect and admire. Maybe they're in a career path that you hope to be in one day. Or maybe you just met them somewhere and you're like, this is kind of cool. Check out their LinkedIn profile. What did they study in school? What sorts of jobs do they have? Are they involved with extracurriculars? It can be a nice tool of inspiration to see the different paths, the diverse paths of how people get to where they are. And it's not always linear, especially for those of you that are still in your undergrad experience or even grad experience. You may think you have to have it all fully designed. And then you got to know, when I turn 45, this is exactly what I'm going to be doing. And there's one straight path. For those of us who are not in that, still in our early 20s phase, that's not really how it works, is it? Does anyone in this room had it work exactly perfectly? I mean, I started off as an environmental engineer at General Electric, and I don't do anything with engineering now. I absolutely ping off of my degree, though, right, in what I do and the type of company I work at. But I couldn't have defined at 20 what I'm now doing at 50. I wouldn't have known exactly what that path looks like. So using people as inspiration, but not as a recipe. There is no recipe for success of someone else's that it's going to equal success for you. It's very individual. So now let's take some time to talk about communicating your brand. And as I said earlier, there's lots of different ways you present yourself. We're going to focus on 3 in this presentation. We're going to spend a little bit of time on who are you online, LinkedIn, and I'm glad to see a lot of you already have profiles, so that's good. Who are you on paper? Resume. Now, of course, you might not actually hardly ever print it, but we still do have this thing called a resume that represents who we are. And at your career fair that I was at a handful of months ago, lots of you handed resumes. So it's still a thing. It'll be interesting to see 10 years from now if we still have paper resumes, but as of right now, we do. And then last but not least, who are you in person? Some people call this an elevator pitch, and I'll explain more about why, but it's really, what are people learning about you, experiencing with you when they meet you? It's usually for the first time, okay? So let's start with LinkedIn. So who has my number 6? One there, and who else? Perfect. All right. So according to LinkedIn, research that LinkedIn has done, what are the 2 most important parts of your LinkedIn profile? So let me describe what these are if you're not super familiar. Picture, a picture, easy. Headline, that's the thing that goes right underneath your name on LinkedIn. So if you haven't put anything, God bless you, it defaults as like a job title. Or if you're a student, it might say student for student, but you can change it, okay? So that's what the headline is. Your summary is this optional box that you can type into. So it's not automatically there in your LinkedIn profile, but you can pull it in and you can type whatever the heck you want into that summary box. And then your skills and endorsements, those are the things that people can vote on you for. So if they think you're good at project management, if they think you're good at leadership, you can kind of click on these things and vote on people for them. Okay, so going to you, which 2 do you think are, according to research, are the most important parts?
I guess it'd be headline and summary.
Headline and summary.
Yeah.
Okay, headline and summary. And then who did I have here?
I believe, depending on the picture, I kind of play it like maybe you want to look at professional picture, so I
okay.
Some feedback others profile. And also go to skills and endorsements. Just
okay.
Like, although I do agree on summary, but those are skills you do like other outside experiences.
Okay.
Wants to vote on it, then they can because they see, oh, hey, they're pretty good at this, so why not try?
Okay, great. So we've got a lot of them covered, right? So we have 1 vote for picture. We've got headline. So okay, actually, all of them got one of y'all's votes. So let's see what the research shows. And let me say right now, I very much dislike this research. In fact, before I show the answer, but it is what it is, right? We all have to be comfortable with what it is. Originally, as of, I think 3 years ago, there was only 1 answer. And now they've refined the research and now 2 things pop up. But guess what the one thing is back in the day when this research first came out? Your picture. It was your picture and your picture alone that was known to be the most important thing. And why do I not like this? Woo, DEI all over the place. I'm like, oh no, but we're human beings. And whether we like it or not, the research still shows that the picture is one of those things that is the most important on your LinkedIn profile. Now, I'd like to put a positive swing on this. I'd like to say it's for some of the reasons that this gentleman said. Do you present yourself in a professional way? Maybe do you have a look on your face that makes you look mildly welcoming? And actually a very easy one, did you spend the 2 seconds it takes to upload a photo? Sometimes just that can be telling. Did somebody take the literal 2 seconds to put one in there? So again, I don't love that photos become a thing. I will say it has absolutely come into handy when I meet people out at coffee shops and I kind of know what they look like before I come. But that is the research. And then the second thing is the headline. The headline is searchable. So hopefully you also know that companies pay big whopping money to utilize all sorts of sophisticated algorithms inside of LinkedIn. We pay big money to use it at Wolfspeed. And headlines can be searchable. So it is a way that we can be looking for something specific and find it through some searches. So let's look at a couple examples here. Here are some people that are on my LinkedIn. I know all of these individuals. They are all lovely people. 2 of these people are actually professors at great universities. But this is how they've shown themselves. So in the first photo, wowzers. He's a brilliant professor at a wonderful business school. He's not looking super welcoming to me. Second guy, I think he likes Christmas. I'm not really sure. And then the third picture, which one is it for? Lovely couple, don't get me wrong, but whose LinkedIn profile is this? This is a professional network. And then third, I'm sure they love nature and trees, but wow, if I'm meeting them in a coffee shop, I don't know who I'm looking for. So I would say those are not wonderful examples of LinkedIn profile photos. Now, if you're like, Shawnice, I don't have the money to go and get some professional photo, and they only do them once a year at my school. For real, right now, I could have every person stand up against this white wall. You put a smile on your face and I'll have you a LinkedIn profile, or not even a smile. You don't like to smile? That's fine. You have a little bit of a pleasant look. I could take a photo right now, upload it, you're done. Don't make too big of a deal about how much effort or how perfect it needs to be. It's a good idea to have one versus not, and then just have it represent your authentic self. Now, if your authentic self involves like surfing or something, you know, you want to be clothed. But still. Now, these are some headlines that I have seen on LinkedIn. So what are issues that you see with these headlines? Help me out. Yeah. Okay, so acronym that good to know, but have no idea what it is. Great. Very broad. Okay. Others, I saw other hands. I think I saw your hand. So again, broad, not specific enough. Okay. Let's see. Yes, hand. Yeah. Back there. Yes.
The specificness of it makes it seem like they're covering themselves because they don't.
Ooh, okay. So you're reading into it a little bit further and saying they went that broad because they don't really have too much to bring. Okay. Yeah.
Seems like unless Jack is like an actual person, I don't know what that means.
Jack, maybe that's an old phrase, but jack of all trades is a phrase that at least people in my generation we would use to essentially say what you just said. Oh wait, who did I just called on people and I missed it. Wait, who had the cards on this one? I don't remember. I'm screwing this up. We'll figure out the candy afterwards because I'm screwing up. Bottom line, remember that I said this is all searchable. So if you're wanting to be found for what something, this is getting you nowhere fast, and you're going to not show up in a search whatsoever. So I would say no to those sorts of titles. So 3 quick LinkedIn tips. There are plenty. I could do a whole workshop on LinkedIn, and I'm sure your career center and others provide it, but just a couple quick tips. Number 1, use a tagline that represents your brand well. So as an example of my tagline on LinkedIn, you're not going to see my title. It's not going to say Senior Director, Global Talent Management. It's actually going to be a series of phrases that represent the different types of work that I've done over my career. So it might say executive coach, leadership development, stuff like that. And you have a good amount of space that you can use. And then I could show up in a number of different searches. I love the summary box. If you think about what a resume is facts and figures. What's your grade point? What school did you go to? Da-da-da. It's very, what am I looking for? Do I have the information? Is it articulated well? LinkedIn is your spot to have a personality. So I love it when people fill out their summary box and they're writing it in first person and you're actually thinking about it like you're speaking. So if you're going to be introducing yourself to somebody, how would you say it? Think about using that sort of format when you're filling out your summary box, because then you almost start hearing a voice in your head as the person's reading it versus just bullets like a resume or something you can say. Oh, okay. And then last but not least, big tip here, we are all electronic these days. Someone's looking at your LinkedIn either on a laptop or possibly even on their phone. And chances are all they're going to look at is the part that shows up right there. They may scroll down if they're interested, but as you're thinking about what is going to make the most impact, have it be that top part that shows, I like to think about a laptop screen. So on that note, I took a screenshot of one of our PhD engineers, and this is what hers looks like. So what do you see? You see she used the tagline to talk about two things that are very important to her. So she talked about technical, strategy, and diversity. You see in her about section, she didn't do it quite in first person, but she added some sentences that are not just describing her job. It doesn't say, I work in the power department at Wolfspeed and nope. She's talking about herself and her style. Then she has a welcoming photo. And again, even in her customized background, you can tell that she's dedicated to diversity, equity, and inclusion. So just one example, and again, this is literally what I see when I pull it up on my laptop screen, okay? All right, let's move on to paper and resume. Who has my number 7? I have 2 number 7s out there. There's 1, there's 2. Okay, so research shows how long does a recruiter typically spend scanning a resume before placing it in the yes or the no pile? So let me describe this. This isn't the hiring manager. This is the person that's first viewing your resume, probably after it went through the computer suite. And there's a human being who's going to look at your resume and decide, do I want to talk to this person in a phone screen? Or do I want to pass this to a hiring manager or not? Okay, so what is your guess? 60 seconds, 30 seconds, 15 seconds, 6 seconds?
6 seconds.
6 seconds. Why do you say 6 seconds?
I've just heard, well, I mean, I've heard that I've just heard that they don't take a long time looking.
Okay.
You just kind of like, I guess, skim through it, or they just look at the important points, or they just look to see if the resume was the way they wanted it specifically.
Okay.
But I've heard that they don't spend that much time looking at the resume. Just partially why you just try to make it short and sweet.
Okay. All right. Good answer. How about you? 6 seconds. Okay. Any other things you want to add to why? Got it. So y'all have heard this research before. It is in fact 6 seconds. Now, I thought about this and I was like, are you kidding me? Right? Like, come on. So I did an experiment. Now, I need to caveat this. I read a lot of resumes. I've done a lot of hiring over my decades. So I'm probably a slightly quicker than other people because I've done it a lot. But I did it for an opening that I had. I had 100+ resumes. And I said, you know what? I'm going to do it in one sitting. I'm going to go through it. I'm going to time myself. And then I'm going to do the math. 4.5 seconds. Now, how? Because then you're like, oh, yeah, she doesn't care. No, actually, I do. As soon as I would see a typo, as soon as I would see when I required a cover letter and somebody didn't attach a cover letter, as soon as I saw someone reference the wrong company name, all those things immediately gone. That takes me half a second at best. Boom, 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 gone, gone, gone. Then there's going to be a handful that if I knew I needed an electrical engineer, but the person applied and has a business degree, boom. So you have a lot like that. And then you have ones that you do spend a bit of time. And now on average, 4.5 seconds for me. Now again, that's first sweep. But still, you want to be in the first sweep. So a couple tidbits on that. Make sure you study, before you spend all that time doing a job posting, make sure you're even qualified for it, because we'll notice. We don't want to break the law, because those qualifications are actually a legal thing here in the United States. We want to make sure, due to equal employment opportunity laws, that everyone who's being considered for a job at least meets a minimum requirement. So know that if you do not meet the minimum requirement that's listed, it's actually an okay thing. It feels bad for you, but it's an okay thing, because that means when you do make the yes pile, you're being compared with people who all meet the same minimum requirements, okay? So anyways, yes, it's a short period of time. So I think you already said it, make sure it's through the eyes of the reader. So the reader that first time is a recruiter usually. got to be organized. It's got to be easy to find the stuff you need. It's got to have the stuff that they're asking for. Make it easy for the reader. So a couple tips. Spoon feed the reader. If you know they want a GPA, put it on there. You don't have to necessarily love what your GPA is. Put it on there. We at Wolfspeed, we have what we would like to see, but we hire a wide range, but we want to see it. Okay, so make sure you put the information that they're looking for. Second thing, unless you have a PhD and you're writing down all of your patents and your papers, your resume should never be more than 2 pages. As I said, I'm decades into my career and my resume continues to be 2 pages. So we've got to pare it down. It's not your life story. It's the taste of your story that gets them interested enough to them want to talk to you. It's the taste. And then again, same tip for LinkedIn as I have here. Make it count what shows up on the screen. They may or may not scroll down. They may or may not get a piece of paper. They will once you get to the interview. But that first step, make it count on what they see up front. So I did a screenshot of a fellow engineer. She's now in a high up diversity, equity, and inclusion role at a technical company, but she started off as an engineer in chemical engineering. And you see, this is the top of her resume. I blocked out her personal information. But as you can see, she's spending that first amount of time not saying this is the job I'm currently in at this company. She starts right off by talking about specifically, I have this many years of experience in all of this broad amount. I'm known for doing diversity and inclusion strategies. I have extensive experience researching, da-da-da. Now I recognize, for those of you earlier in your career, you're like, whoa, I don't have all that. But over time, this is telling the whole picture of what she's done in her really successful career, not just starting off the resume at the top with my current title is this, and this is what I do. In fact, you don't even know what her current title is on the first half, but what do you know? You know, she has an MBA. You know, she has a chemical engineering degree from a great school. You know, she has some things that she's focused on in her career, and you know the essence of what she's done in her decades-long career. Then if you want to scroll further, you'll see the names and the dates and the companies and that kind of stuff. Okay, now again, little shout out to Michael back there. Your career services group probably has a template that you should use for your resume. Please use it. This is more for you working professionals in the room, or as you continue past college, the rule book kind of goes out the window a little bit. But for those of you who are still in school and Michael and his team have a template, use his template. Don't listen to me on this, okay? All right, and last but not least is the elevator pitch or the in-person. Who knows what elevator pitch actually means? What's the beginning of that? Okay, well, Michael. No, you go.
An elevator pitch is saying an introduction or a summary of yourself that should be completed in the amount of time it takes to ride on the elevator.
Exactly. So it literally does reference going up in an elevator. So to give you an example, I used to work in this high rise in a city, and I knew enough about this. And luckily I did step on the elevator, and it was with the CEO. And I at least had stayed in tune with the news and known enough of what was going on that I was able to use that ride in the elevator to say something at least pertinent. It wasn't like, hey, give me a job, but it was pertinent to business person to business person. I was like, but did you ever have those times when you enter and there's somebody important and you're like, hubba hubba hubba, and you're like, how's the weather? So that's great and it's friendly, but they're walking out of that with no memory of who you are, what you're about, what you're interested in, what you do at the company, whatever. So that's truly what it means with elevator pitch is, do you take advantage of those moments, but not so in your face with people that it's deterring, but it really could happen in an elevator. So let's talk about some of these things. Number 8. Well, first of all, who had, I've totally missed on the candy bars. Who had 6s and 7s who has not yet gotten a candy bar? Okay. Who else? I know I missed a couple others. Yeah, I missed you. Okay. And again, we'll resolve this later if we need to. Yep. Okay, so who has my number 8? All right, all right. So this is research again. There's actually 2 answers. I will tell you, there are 2 answers on this depending on the source of the research. So how quickly does a person form an impression of you in the first time they're meeting you? 2 minutes, 38 seconds, 7 seconds, 1/10 of a second. So what have we got back there? 1/10 of a second, okay? And where was my other candy bar? Yeah. 38 seconds?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I think for some people it takes quite some time for what you're saying to register in your head.
Great, so we've got 1/10 of a second for the immediate, and then we've got 38 seconds. It might take a little bit of time. The research is, like I said, 2 answers. One of the researches is 7 seconds, which is, it does take a little bit for our brain to register, but it's actually quicker than we might think. And within 7 seconds, we kind of are making the determination of, do I want to keep chatting with this person? Or if I haven't started chatting with them, do I want to linger and see if I want to? The 1/10 of a second research, which again, I don't like this research. The 1/10 of a second research is, within 1/10 of a second, we are judging. I don't like judging, but we are judging because we're humans. Do I think this person is competent? In 1/10 of a second, our brain, human nature, is deciding whether or not a person is competent. Woo! So, do you have to love the research? No. Do we have to own it a little bit and recognize that whether we like it or not, there's still something about the impressions that we make? Yeah. So, here's how I really like to think about an elevator pitch. And again, you're going to learn a method from your career services group, specifically on how to do this in an interview. Please use that guidance. But in general, here's the way I like to think about it. You're sitting across the table from a hiring manager who has your dream job or internship available, and you got the spot to interview for it. What I like people to think about is whether you're spending 5 minutes with them, 30 minutes, a whole dinner with them, what are the 3 things that you want them to remember about you when they leave that experience? Not what are the 17 things? What are the 3 things? And for each of us, it's going to be different. So it could be, oh, they're going to notice right away that I am not a practicing engineer, but they're going to remember that I have an engineering degree and have worked in technical manufacturing companies most of my life. So that could be one thing I hope comes across without me saying, hello, I have a degree, but somehow it weaves into the talk. So that's an example of the 3 things. It could be your degree. It could be I've been a people leader before. It could be I love, volunteering, whatever those things are that you think are important to them. So I want to say this part again. When you're meeting with somebody, it's actually about them and not about you. And that sounds kind of harsh, but it is. If they're trying to fill a job, they're thinking about what's in it for me. Why would I choose this person versus this person versus this person? Now, ultimately, it's about us, right? Because we're the one that they might hire. But you got to put yourself in their shoes. What are they hoping to learn about you or check off the list or get to know that goes, oh, I can see. So it's actually kind of about them. So tips, be prepared to tell something memorable in that minute or less. Like my example on the actual elevator, my story wasn't about me in a job. It was me more wanting the CEO to know, hey, she works here. And oh, she's paying attention to our industry. Okay. So that was my goal in that conversation, whether I knew it, that I was going to run into him or not. It's about them, not you. What keeps them up at night? So if it's for a job, why are they so desperate to fill this job? And what is it that they're really hoping the person comes in and hits the ground running with? Or if it's a business type meeting, what are you going to talk to that person about? And what is that thing that truly might be keeping them up at night? And you can help bring some solutions to the table or some insight into something for them. And then last but not least, know your audience and respect their time and position. When you're going to ask for time with someone, particularly someone who's higher level, whether it's a professor or a leader or whatever it is, if you've asked for 10 minutes, stick to the 10 minutes. Let them say, you say, oh, I'm sorry, I recognize our time is up. You're very busy. Thank you so much. Let them say, no, I actually have 10 more minutes if you do. But don't be the person, number one, to ask for an hour when you could ask for 10 minutes. And don't be the person to have it go long, because then guess what they remember about you? They don't remember the 3 things. They remember that you made them late. Okay? All right, so what is next? I hope after today, or on today actually, you will share any key aha moments that you have that you've learned here today in this session. In the next week, I hope that you hear something and maybe look at your resume again, look at your LinkedIn profile again, actually put something here to action. And then last but certainly not least, remember about your Career Services Center. There's a ton of great resources that you all have at your fingertips. You can do coaching sessions, all sorts of things. Take advantage of it. That's why they're here, to help you define what successful looks like and get success. So again, hopefully this is what we covered today. You have a better understanding of personal branding, how to shape it, how you communicate it, and what actions you can take now. So who has my number 9s? Should have 2, 1 here and 1 there. Okay, so on a scale of 1 to 10, how confident are you that you can enhance your brand, and do you have any key things that you picked up on?
So I feel after this, coming in maybe at 8, but going after reading this, I believe at 9. And I know now I have to update my picture and headline on LinkedIn.
Okay, great. How about you?
So I didn't know what personal branding was.
Okay.
1 or 0.
Okay.
Now I think that I would consider myself maybe a 7 or an 8, in that it really spoke to me when you said focus on what you're good at, and not what you're not good at.
Excellent. Good. Well, I'm glad you two both got something out of it. So want to leave you all with a couple quotes. First, from Emily Dickinson, I dwell in possibility. And secondly, no one can go back and make a brand new start, but we all can start from right now and make a brand new ending. So I want to say thank you all for sitting through this. Again, my name is Shawnice. If you're interested in Wolfspeed at all, we are doing an info session here at, I forget what time, 1:30. And you can connect with me on LinkedIn if you would like as well. So I know it's right at time. If anyone has to head to class or anything, you're welcome to, but I will stick around for questions too. So thank you.
Please join me in thanking Shawnice for being here today. What a great inspirational program.
Yeah.